The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Take a look at these sketches. You're looking at drawings from the man the FBI is calling the most prolific serial killer in American history. 93 victims spanning over 11 states have died at the hands of Samuel Little. Ironically, after nearly 18 months of confessions, Little has helped the FBI open up cold cases on his own murders with detailed sketches of his victims and almost photographic recollections of the slayings. Like this one from 1992 in North Little Rock.
Oh man, I love her. I forget her name. Oh wait, I think it was Ruth. It had buck teeth. It had a gap between the teeth everywhere. So I just pulled out the car, laid on that trash that was lit there.
And this one from New Orleans in 1982.
She was pretty, a light-skinned, brown, honey-colored skin. I grabbed her by the legs and pulled her to the water. That's the only one that I ever killed by drowning.
Law enforcement has been able to verify 50 of Little's confessions, but with 93 victims on his record, Little has the title of killing more people than Bundy, Gacy, and Dahmer combined. Wow, I was right. Little is currently serving 3 consecutive life sentences. He managed to evade police for decades because his victims were women on the fringe of society, often prostitutes, addicts, transgender, who sadly were not likely to be noticed if they suddenly went missing. Over 90 victims, and one of the reasons why we're talking about this is it's so hard to comprehend what could drive a person to kill so many different victims.
And when you watch somebody like Little recount all of the murders that he committed with such excruciating detail, like remembering that he was playing with a necklace before he choked one of his victims. It was amazing because actually every single detail he gave and those sketches were extremely helpful to the police. And they were saying, yep, it's all confirmed. All of these details that he remembered so vividly really do paint the picture and are confirmed murders. And this is what's really scary about serial killers and why we are so intrigued, because they can seemingly be very normal and, in fact, extremely charming. And we may even want to be around them. And, in fact, that's how victims get into their web in the first place.
To be able to draw a picture of someone 20, 30 years later with that level of detail, is that unique? Is that just a unique thing to him, or is that something tied in there with the mentality that he may have had when he was committing all these crimes?
The memory formation around their murders are more pronounced than regular memories because their emotions are amped up. Their adrenaline is running. And that's when memory formation is very, very specific. And that's how they remember those things. But his level of detail is definitely unique.
So let's talk about serial killers, and let's talk about some of the more famous ones. And I hate that we're using that word, that you can be a famous person for killing, but Gacy, Dahmer, Ramirez, Bundy, could they have serial killer similarities, commonalities, things to look out for? And as a forensic psychologist, you spend a lot of time researching this, looking for warning signs.
Yeah, so I've been to maximum security prisons to evaluate alleged, accused, and convicted murderers. And they're all very nice. They're extremely nice, to the point where you, at least on the surface, question whether or not they really did the things that everybody else says they did. And they do love to tell stories about themselves because they all have a little bit of a narcissism. That's when you start to see that there are these similarities. And in the 4 that we've talked about just now, Gacy, Dahmer, Ramirez, and Bundy, they all have in common one that has really been around a lot in research, which is a really early history of childhood abuse and maltreatment of varying kinds. So there's a lot of abandonment type issues in here. Bundy never knew his biological dad, and he was rumored to actually be a product of incest. And Gacy was abused by his alcoholic dad at the age of 4 and beyond, and he was also sadly sexually abused by a friend of the dad. And Ramirez also had a very abusive upbringing, had a violent father, talked about how violent his father was to the entire family. And Dahmer's mom not only had anxiety and attempted suicide, he claimed that he was always neglected. And as we've talked about, emotional neglect can be as punishing as physical or sexual abuse sometimes to individuals.